Hi everyone, I'm Barkha Dutt and you're watching the Mojo Story, our independent digital platform. It is time to take a step back and look at the history that has been made in the United States of America, not just to relief at the exit of Trump, but the marvelous dignity of that moment and Kamala Harris making history as the first woman vice president, an Asian American, a biracial, multicultural person with roots in India, an Indian mother, and of course, something to be so proud of in a country that has yet struggled to get its first woman president. The theme of the entire inaugural was the color purple, a color for bipartisanship, equality, and also healing. But this is a regime change that the Indians are going to watch very, very carefully, not just because Kamala Harris's mother was from Chennai, but because there are all kinds of questions around whether the Modi government perhaps invested too much in Donald Trump. To give us a sense of both the personal and the political, we're joined on the program by the man that Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States of America, calls her Uncle Balu. We're joined by Gopalan Balachandran. Welcome to the program, sir. It's a pleasure having you on. When we last met, you were actually hopeful that you might be able to attend the inaugural. That could not happen. What were your thoughts as you watched Kamala Harris being sworn in?
Oh, yes, I did. I did watch the whole thing yesterday.
What did you feel?
Well, at one level, I mean, she was going to be sworn in. There was no question about that.
Right.
The only thing that made me happy was now she'll be able to do the things that she wants to do. Till yesterday, she could only talk about it. Now she can actually do it. I thought that was now a good beginning for her career as a vice president, because she's going to do a lot of things in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, you know her well and you've known her since she was a child. What do you think would have been top of her mind as she stood there taking her oath?
Your voice is breaking up a little bit. I can't get the full sentence.
I'm saying you know her quite well. So what do you think would have been top of her mind as she was taking her oath? You know, what do you think, given everything you know about her, what do you think she should have been thinking at this moment?
The first thought in her mind would be the absence of her mother. Okay, there's no question about that. She would miss her more than anything else that she was not at this swearing in. That would be on the top of her head, personally. Okay. The next thing would be whatever the next thing has to do. I think now they got so many things. I don't know what they are going to concentrate on. COVID, they have already made the executive orders. The immigration, which was very clear about what DACA and the other legislation, how they should be handled. An executive order has been issued on that matter also. So I think these are the things that would immediately concern her, to see the implementation and how fast.
Right. Let me ask you this. There was a tribute that she in fact paid to her mother, to your sister Shyamala, and we're going to play that out in just a moment from now. But if you were to describe how much Kamala Harris's mother influenced her, how would you describe that influence to be?
Beg your pardon?
How would you describe Kamala Harris's mother's influence on her, your sister's influence on who Kamala Harris is today?
Oh, I mean, look, Shyamala's influence on Kamala is enormous. Now, when people say that Kamala is a path breaker, sometimes I tell them Shyamala was a bigger path breaker, okay? And that Kamala is merely following the footsteps of her mother in breaking new paths.
And you say that the mother was the real trailblazer. There has been a lot of speculation during the campaign. Some people said that the vice president was disowning her Indian roots and embracing more of her African American roots than her Indian roots. How did you see that controversy?
Look, what does Indian roots mean? I've never been able to figure that out. Okay, I'll be honest. My wife is a Mexican. My daughter is a Mexican Indian. She studied in India. She studied in Mexico. She studied in USA. She lived in India most of her adult life. And she knows Hindi. I mean, she attended a Hindi school. Now she's a professor in States. Now, what are her Indian roots? If I ask her, what are your Indian roots? She'll say, what are you crazy, father? What do you mean? I don't have any roots. What do you mean roots? You think I'm a tree?
Yeah.
So what are Indian roots? I've not been able to figure that out.
How
I
much
asked
of it
everybody,
is,
tell me.
how much of it is part of her identity?
No, yes, her identity, look, she identifies with India quite a lot. She wants to come back. She likes to come back. She's very happy here in Delhi. She was very happy in Chennai. So she's very at home in India. She's got a lot of friends from her school in Delhi. But she feels at home in Mexico. She speaks Spanish like nobody's business.
But
She's a professor of English in USA.
That is your wife. But what does India, you think, mean to Kamala Harris, the new Vice President of America?
Look, she's Indian. I tell the Indian roots are Dutch. When she comes to India, when she was in India, whenever she used to come to India, did she feel restless? Did she say, no, when I'm leaving, I'm rather tired. I don't know what to do. I'm nothing like that. She was very happy when she was in Chennai. She used to go along the beach with my father. She used to go along with my mother to the temples. She used to travel around wherever they took her. When I was there, she used to cook. She used to like a lot of South Indian food, which my sister used to cook and keep it. She used to come and gobble it. So she likes Indian food, but she likes American food also. So what does that make her? Look, the Indian root business is a overblown business, okay? Look, in fact, somebody will tell me, which Indian language do I write? I can speak Tamil, but I can't write it fast enough.
Right.
I can speak Hindi, but I can't write Hindi. I don't know any other Indian language that I can write or talk. So what does it make? Not an Indian because I don't know any Indian language. Is English an Indian language? I mean, the identity, I mean, this sort of people, you see, that's what she learned from her father, Kamala and Shyamala. Don't slot people in what they speak, what they do, what they eat. Not eating which doesn't make you Indian.
But just out of curiosity, is she able to speak Tamil? Is Kamala able to speak Tamil?
No, she doesn't. My daughter doesn't Tamil. But the problem, I'll tell you one thing. My wife spoke to my daughter from first age when she was a baby, always in Spanish. Now, in my case, I always used to speak her in English. If I had spoken to her in Tamil, probably she would have picked up on the childhood. But unfortunately, I used to speak to her, Sharda, what are you doing? Whereas she used to always speak to her in Spanish. And she picked up. So language is something what the parents speak and what is spoken frequently in house.
Yeah.
Now, Shyamala, when she was living alone.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
No. You were speaking about Kamala Harris's mother, Shyamala, when she was living alone. Just complete that story.
Yeah, she was living alone. And she was going to come to school. And she can't speak to her all the time in Tamil because she has to teach Tamil. But my wife was at home, used to teach her Spanish. Shyamala was a working scientist and she was a good one at that. So it becomes very difficult. So I won't classify anybody by what language they speak, what food they eat, or where they put the roots. I mean, like a tree, where put the roots. Okay.
I still don't know. Yeah, you don't know. You say Kamala Harris is not a tree. Stop discussing her roots. I kind of like that comment. But let's play out all the same. The influence of her mother, your sister, on her life and the tribute she offered her mother to, and the women, as she said, who came before her.
To the woman most responsible for my presence here today, my mother, Shyamala Gopalan Harris, who is always in our hearts. When she came here from India at the age of 19, she maybe didn't quite imagine this moment, but she believed so deeply in an America where a moment like this is possible. And so I am thinking about her and about the generations of women, Black women, Asian, white, Latina, Native American women, who throughout our nation's history have paved the way for this moment. Women who fought and sacrificed so much for equality and liberty and justice for all. including the black women who are too often overlooked, but so often prove they are the backbone of our democracy.
So that tribute, of course, was very, very from the heart. And when you say Kamala Harris is not a tree, why do you all go on about her roots? Clearly, her mother and where she came from is a big part of who she is today, as she herself said.
Oh, yeah. No, that I agree with you. But when people ask me, what is an indian-ness? I always ask, what do you mean by indian-ness?
Yeah.
Now that she likes India, she has come to India, she was very happy. She used to be fond of her grandfather and grandmother and all her aunts and nieces. That's why she called her Chitti, when she was there, and she calls me Uncle Balu. She calls me Balu, not sir. She calls her aunt Chittis. So she has got all those things. So I'm not yet clearly, I'll be frank with you. I had no idea. Somebody said, please, Bala, tell me your Indian-ness. Define what do you mean by Indian. In your case, what is your Indian-ness? As I say, I hold an Indian passport. What else can I say?
Okay, talk to me a little bit. Well, identity is a complicated thing. Well, identity is a complicated thing. I guess it's what you self-identify as. I guess it's what you feel when cricket is played. There are many different things that add up to one sense of being Indian. Talk a little bit.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's a very complicated question. Only thing is this: you can say who is not somebody Indian, say who doesn't feel at home in India. See, an Indian-ness is to feel at home when you land in India. They feel and say, okay, I'm home, what shall I do? They don't feel like a stranger. That's
so would you say Vice President Harris feels at home in India?
Oh, she felt whenever I saw her, she was in Chennai and Chandigarh and Delhi. Yes, she felt at home.
Right. Now, talk a little bit from the strategic affairs sort of prism. There are those who believe that the Biden-Harris regime would not be so India-friendly, that Kamala Harris, your niece, comes from a strong rootedness of civil liberties, that we will see the Biden-Harris administration being much more judgmental, as it were, on India's civil liberties and human rights record. During the campaign, Kamala Harris made some comments on Kashmir that raised a lot of hackles in the government here. What do you think is going to be her approach to India when it comes to all of these issues?
Look, her approach, what she said when she was a senator is different from what she might say when she is a vice president. But what she feels will not be any more different when she is the vice president than when she was a senator. Let's make a distinction between how she feels about what is happening and how she feels she should respond publicly. Okay? Now, in both cases, and there her views are very strong, and she had taken at the risk of personal cost. Look, when I was there with her when she was running for the district attorney of San Francisco, when she announced her candidacy, a cop was killed by somebody and they arrested him. On the day of his funeral or the day after, Shyamala said publicly, if elected as DA, I will work for his conviction, but I will not seek death penalty. The whole San Francisco Union went up in arms against her, saying, how can you say that? She said, look, this is my belief and this is what I believe. They said, we won't endorse you. At that time, I lived in long enough in the United States to know if the local police union doesn't endorse you, they work against you, your chances reduce quite a lot. And at that time, she had not even any public holding. But she said, no, I will not back down. She won the election by a slim margin. But at the next election, the same union endorsed her. So, in case of India, she will feel the same thing, but she may say differently.
So you're basically
but that
saying
does
she
not
might
mean
you're
she will not
basically
raise the
saying
matter with whomever she thinks should
Yeah.
deal with
You're
India. That she will do that. Okay.
You're saying that she will be more diplomatic, possibly as vice president in public than she was as senator.
Yeah, naturally, you see, when you are a responsible holder of like the vice president or the presidentship of the United States, you tend to exercise more, not only the immediate your emotions, what I feel like. You try to see, look, can I come something to do about that? I'm not interested in blaming the others. I would like to see how to reduce what I'm worried about. That she will do. She may try to approach the Indian government through indirect means, through diplomatic means, whatever it is, how they do it, I don't know.
Yeah.
But she will not publicly say, I condemn India, they should do this, they should do that. Okay?
Tell me
But-
what, given everything you know about her, you have said those concerns will remain. What would concern Kamala Harris about India today? You've said her concerns would remain and they would come from a place of principle, whether she articulated it in public or not.
Yeah, let me give you a very concrete personal example.
Yeah.
Interfaith marriage. She was a Hindu Brahmin from South India, went to States. He was a Jamaican African, a Christian from Jamaica. That was interfaith, intercaste, every intermarriage, intercountry, interfaith, intercaste. You damn well say any inter, it's inter. In my case, I am a Hindu male from India. My wife is a Mexican Catholic. So what does that make? And you come and talk to me and Shyamala and say, look, interfaith marriage is bad. She'll say, what rubbish are you talking? I'm a product of interfaith marriage. You think I'm wrong? So, of course, she'll feel very strongly about it. But she's not going to say, look, I wouldn't mention the government, state governments in India. She will not say, what rubbish are they talking? That she'll now exercise caution. But obviously, I mean, as an intelligent human, will say, she says, what sort of people are they?
So you're saying that if she reads about what is called love jihad, she can't express an opinion. She can't express an opinion as vice president, but she can certainly tell you in private that she thinks that's nonsense.
Of course, yes, she'll say it's nonsense in private. Look, let me tell you, I wouldn't say that publicly, but I wouldn't be advised some of her colleagues in the Congress. You know, there are 2 or 3 US laws which have sanctions on individuals for the travel to US, etc., if they are found to be in gross violation of human rights. It's called Magnitsky Global Human Rights Act. I mean, I'm not surprised if some of the Congress people say, look, we'll put so-and-so in India, sanction them under that Magnitsky award, which means that fellow won't be able to go to good states. And as you know, all high functionaries in India have got children studying in states or living in states and what they want to go there. Yeah. If they are banned from going to states forever, they will think twice about doing something like that. I don't know, they might do that. I'm not putting ideas in their mind, okay?
But the point is that she may think anything as a private citizen. How do you think this will play out? How do you think this will play out from a regime perspective? You know, the concern that Indians had that the Democrats are going to be much more judgmental, because Biden, for example, raised the citizenship legislation in his campaign.
See, it will work in the regime this way. If there's a strong movement and a bipartisan movement in the Congress to say, look, this is too much, we should do something.
Yeah.
And the matter comes to the vice president or the president, and they ask her opinion. I don't think she'll say, don't do that. Indians are very nice people. They are the saints of the earth. She'll say, I also don't agree with you. Okay?
Yeah.
But fortunately, as the president of the Senate, she has got only the final 50-50 vote. If it is 49-48, and if they ask her, she said, there's nothing for me to do. It's 49-48. The Senate has passed it, so it passes. So it all depends on how it plays out. But if asked her opinion, either in the administration or somebody, I don't think she'll shirk and say, please don't do that.
And what about Kashmir? How do you see her comments on Kashmir, which she made during the campaign?
No, listen, what are the comments? Kashmir, you see, in fact, I read even the bill which Jayapal brought it. You read the bill. It doesn't say that condemns India. In fact, the draft of the bill that Ilhan Omar put was far stronger. We condemn India and things like that. All that Jayapal was said, please restore the communication and the human rights. I mean, what the hell is that? And India, we've been saying that. It's not as if the whole Indian said, oh yes, please beat the hell out of them. And only they were saying. In India also there was a big... Then the question comes out. At one level you ask, what is your Indian-ness? And then you say, you shouldn't say anything the Indians say. You can't have your cake and eat it too, okay?
Right.
You can't say
Now,
be
tell me,
Indian, act as Indian, but don't act as Indians do in India.
yeah, I think that's a fair point. Tell me, are you concerned that the government, this government, our government, probably invested too much in the Trump movement, that Mr. Modi, our prime minister, invested too much in Donald Trump, and that may cost the government in establishing
No,
a better relationship with this regime?
no, I don't think that will cost. Look, Biden, look, if he's willing to make peace with Trump and Ted Cruz and all those guys, he's not going to be really saying, why did Modi hug Trump? Okay, no.
Right.
Biden is extremely a level-headed fellow. He's not going to take this as a personal or even a public affront. He will treat India, and he's been a good friend of India, so he'll treat as he has done in the past. I don't think that will make any difference to this administration.
Okay. Finally, I have a comment on my screen that says, we draw inspiration from history and it's imperative to celebrate this moment, but it is a Black woman's ascension. The first, possibly a Black female president. I think he means vice president in this case, who could be president. This tussle that goes on, and you're saying she's not a tree. Stop talking about her roots. But there's been some focus on whether she identifies more as Black than brown, more as African American than Indian. In the end, of course, she's American. And we have to realize that she's American, but she's also biracial, she's also multicultural. How do you think she would see this entire debate over how her identity should be?
But let me put it this way. She's biracial, cultural, Afro-American, Indian, and everything. But all her earlier years, when her mother brought up her in Oakland, she was brought up in an Afro-American environment. All her school friends, when I used to visit, all her relatives were Afro-Americans. They're not Indians. In fact, Indians hardly used to mix with Afro-Americans when I was in States. It's only recently they started doing that. In fact, half my friends in States used to say, oh, Bala, don't go there. There's a Black area. So childhood...
Which is typical racism by Indians who don't want the racism against us, right?
So all her earlier years, friends, those who taught her, those who mixed with her, and she went to Howard University. She didn't go to University of California. She went to Howard, predominantly Black university. Yeah. So it's not surprising that her experience with the Afro-American culture is much, much stronger. Although Shyamala used to take her to the various functions in California, because Shyamala was a great Carnatic singer. And whenever they had a function, they used to invite her to come and sing. So Kamala used to go with her. When she came to India, she went with my mother to, the village that everybody is now talking about, Panganadu. Kamala went with my mother and sister, and she spent one day there. She was quite happy. So, but by temperament, she has had far more exposure to a lot of Afro-Americans than to Indians when she was growing up in California.
I mean, the easy way to say it is that hip hop and Carnatic music can both be part of her subculture, and it doesn't have to be either or.
Oh look, she likes idli, dosa, vada. In fact, look, my younger sister used to visit Shyamala.
Yes.
And she used to cook a lot of food and put it in the freezer for Shyamalas.
Yeah.
And both Kamala and Maya used to visit Shyamala and take away the whole lot of them to their house. And when I go there, Shyamala will say, Bala, I think something in the freezer. I'll say, well, the freezer is empty. She'll say, damn those kids, they've taken it away again. So what does that mean? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all both. I mean, no, I wouldn't be worried too much about whether... yesterday somebody has asked, would she wear a sari? I said, look, Washington in winter is a very windy city. She doesn't wear sari. I said, I don't wear sari, but I suspect you're taking care of your pallu that doesn't slip down your hand, your pleats. It will take more of your time than playing saying what the Chief Justice is telling vote of pledge. So I said, she's not going to wear that. She's not going to do something like that. I mean, so wearing sari is Indian-ness. I don't wear a dhoti, so I'm not an Indian. Okay.
Yeah,
So I think we
no,
should
that's a good.
emphasize.
That's a good point. We have to stop measuring people's sort of Indianness by what they wear, whether you wear a dhoti or whether she wears a sari. That's a fair point. But as we see this lovely photograph of you and her, I do want to end by saying you've spoken a lot
Oh,
about
yeah.
her relationship with her grandfather. If her grandfather were alive today and he was looking at this wonderful moment, of her making history, what do you think he'd be feeling today about Kamala?
Even though if you're alive today, you'd be more than 110, you would say, let me go there, okay? Give me medical insurance and I'll go there. No, she's very, very family. Now, let's say if we say Indian-ness is joint family, okay?
Yeah.
Kamala feels for her family a lot. In fact, I got a couple of photos, but my daughter said, don't put that up. I don't want it to go on. So, photos with Kamala, Vice President. She invited her. She was in the dais with Kamala. She's got a photos with Kamala after she was sworn in. And she went along with Kamala to the dais. So, she feels family for the family. So, that does make her Indianness, yes. So, but this is something she learned from her mother and her grandfather. Don't categorize people by what you think, language, how they dress, what they eat, what they speak. And that has been instilled into her from a very young age.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is driving her.
Yeah, and I think I'll just end by actually saying what you said, that Indians can't have it both ways. You can't both want a piece of Kamala Harris, and then if she feels something about her country, say, oh, she's not actually pro, or feel something about this country, which is her mother's country, then say, oh, why is she not being more pro-India? Basically, you're saying we can't have it both ways.
No, wait. This is again silly, because what she says, I agree with her. I'm an Indian. So you cannot say pro-Indian doesn't mean only somebody who does something doesn't like, say don't do because I don't like it. Yeah. So please understand one thing. I agree with most of the things she says. I'm an Indian. So when I agree with her, does that make her a pro-Indian or anti-Indian? Just because somebody doesn't like in India what I say, doesn't make me an anti-Indian. Although some people say anything that you say against somebody Indian, that's a different matter, okay?
That needs reminding these days. That needs reminding these days.
Yeah, Now, I'll tell you one thing. India-US relationship is very strong and it will grow stronger. The only thing that can sometimes not derail it, but somehow stop its progress, if for some reason, something happens and Indians take exception to that and say she's anti-Indian, she's not Indian root, and all this sort of stuff, then obviously it will have. Look, I'll tell you what happened. I don't know whether you saw in the social network during Kali Puja, there was a going on with Kamala as Durga trying to do COVID. Okay?
Yeah.
Now what happened? Somebody sent it to me. It was going on. Kamala's niece, Maya, okay? No, Kamala's niece's daughter. She put it on her social network because she was a very strong Meena Harris.
Yes.
And a whole ton of Hindus in US fell on her like anything. How are you? You're an anti-Hindu, etc. Then I told her, who are these people to tell you you're an anti-Hindu? Tell them that my father is although I don't want to say caste, he's a Tanjore Brahmin. He says it's not Hindu. Who the hell are you to say Hindu? She said, look, I didn't want to. But what I'm trying to say is this. If you do something like that, it's going to have some sort of a, not direct effect, psychologically effect. What are these people saying? Anything you say, anything against God or anything is anti-Hindu, anti-Indian. So that will obviously play, if not in a very substantive manner, in the back of the mind, that will always be there. And when there is a doubt, what should be done? She'll say these people are too oversensitive anyway, forget about it, do what we want to do. That's what I'm worried about.
Yes, but you know what? That kind of jumping on people happens irrespective of whether they're American or Indian. It's enough of that nonsense going on in our own country right now. As you said, well, we'll have to leave it there. Uncle Balu is coming. You want to complete your point? Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I've got to close, but 30 seconds. Go ahead.
No, I won't say what's happening in India because I don't know. I live alone. I won't know what happened to me if it gets out in the social media. So I'll keep mum on that subject. Okay.
Okay, but you'll be very plain spoken otherwise, and I've enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much. I'm sure you're a very proud uncle today as Kamala Harris makes history. Thank you. Take care and bye bye.